All right, I'm Brad Robinson.
And I'm Morgan Robinson. Welcome to Healing Broken Trust. We're excited to be here with you today for today's live. If you're joining us on the podcast, welcome. Healing after betrayal, right, can feel impossible when couples get stuck in the negative cycle, especially where the hurt partner keeps emphasizing how painful and damaging the betrayal was, while the one who caused the harm defends themselves through minimizing behaviors like it wasn't that serious, or I had a reason, or you're overreacting, right? So that's important.
Yeah, Morgan, research shows that perpetrators often downplay harm while victims naturally focus on the impact of what happened to them. But what happens in strong relationships, strong romantic relationships, victims aren't always about maximizing as much as you would assume. Instead, the biggest problem is often the person who caused the harm, the unfaithful partners, minimizing, which ends up blocking safety and as a result creates a secondary injury.
Yeah, so in this conversation that we're having today, we are breaking down how the cycle works in affair recovery, why interpretation matters as much as behavior, and how real healing starts when the unfaithful partner shifts from defensiveness to responsibility. That I understand why it feels that big, right? That being able to express
Those kinds
that.
of statements help a lot.
And the betrayed partner kind of shifts from the interrogation phase to the trust building questions, like, what are you doing to make sure this never happens again, right? So when couples learn to hold both truths, right, we've got to be able to hold both truths in mind. The damage was real and the repair is possible. They stop kind of repeating the same fight and begin rebuilding trust through accountability, safer meaning making, right? That's important, meaning making, and forgiveness that actually lasts. So that's important.
Yeah. So Morgan, one of the key concepts that we've talked about throughout our podcast is that the negative cycle is probably the biggest hindrance to healing. A lot of people will be in a negative cycle and not even think they are, especially somebody who's been betrayed. They will think like, how am I contributing anything negative here? I'm just asking reasonable questions. Of course I'm upset, but how does that how am I doing anything wrong? It's easy for somebody who's been betrayed to see what the unfaithful partner is not contributing. People who've been unfaithful are like, I see the negative cycle. It's, the heat, it's the inquisition, it's all the questioning, it's, the lack of trust and the anger. But so both partners can bring something to the negative cycle, but not always recognize it. So we judge ourselves by our intentions. Well, I'm avoiding to not cause an argument. I'm asking questions to get healing. They'll have some version of those things, but it's ultimately that negative cycle that stops healing, because healing after betrayal can feel impossible for anybody who's gone through this.
Right.
And it's not just because there's pain that makes it feel impossible. It's this negative cycle dynamic of one partner gets more critical, one partner gets more blaming, the other gets more demanding. And they're doing that because the other partner tends to withdraw, avoid, and shut down.
Right.
But that avoidance and withdrawing also triggers the negative reaction out of the other.
Yeah, and the ultimate goal here is really to help you to get what you want, right? To get to the healing, to stop feeling so terrible, to have your life back again. So it's not at all to say that, a person who's been betrayed is at fault in any form or fashion for that. It's really just, we want to help you get what you want from the healing process. And so there's a journey that you have to go on, and we're hoping to help you understand that journey.
Yeah, and in the negative cycle, one partner will typically become more of a pursuer, and that's after betrayal. That usually is the partner who was betrayed. And when they pursue, part of what they're doing is they're constantly bringing up how damaging the betrayal was, because they're trying to feel safe again. The other partner, the unfaithful partner, can operate like a distancer. They're going to shut down. They're going to defend. They're going to try to move on from the subject. And what they're doing, what those behaviors do is they actually keep the cycle going, because the pursuer, the person who's hurt, is saying, you know what, this hurt me deeply. And usually the distancer does more minimizing behaviors. Their behavior and attitude tends to say, like, I don't care. It's not that serious. And what that does is just pushes the hurt partner harder, hurts them more. And then the other partner, the withdrawer, the distancer, the unfaithful partner, they just pull away further because they get into this rupture and they don't know how to heal from it. And then the more they get caught in that negative cycle, the less healing happens. And if people want to really heal, Morgan, they don't need just answers.
Right.
They need to break that cycle, because that negative cycle is ultimately the biggest hindrance to healing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's super important.
So, Morgan, let me ask you, can you, like, we have pursuers and distancers. What do distancers tend to think, the unfaithful partner, when they're in a negative cycle? How do they tend to see things?
Yeah, that's so important. And it's also important to realize that this is obviously a generalization. It's usually what couples are experiencing, but it's not all the time, every time this is the situation. But distancers, they often like to minimize in order to survive, right? So the person who caused the harm, that distancer. And what we find is research shows perpetrators often protect themselves by minimizing what happened. And so minimizing happens when the unfaithful partner is telling the story about what happened in a way that makes the harm smaller, right? Because they don't want to hurt their spouse. They don't want to cause more pain. And if they can make that pain smaller, they will. I think it's natural for us all to avoid pain, right? So minimizing sounds like it was an accident. You know, I had a reason. It didn't mean anything, or you're overreacting. You know, calm down. But here's what the betrayed partner hears: your pain doesn't matter, right? They're hearing my pain doesn't matter, and
They're hearing also, I don't matter.
Right, I don't matter, exactly.
And you're not choosing. You're still selfish. You're still, you're still doing the same behaviors that you were doing in the affair. I don't matter. You're still,
Right.
Show me. I don't. That my pain doesn't matter. You're still choosing yourself, not us.
Yeah. And that's why minimizing is so dangerous. So it doesn't calm the situation, it really escalates it. And the betrayed partner isn't just reacting to the affair anymore. They're also reacting to the feeling that their reality is being erased, right? My truth, my feelings are being minimized and being erased. And so healing really can't begin until the person who caused harm stops minimizing and starts to validate, right? And reassure that reassure their partner that they are really caring about their partner and how their partner feels.
Well, they have to, like, another way to say that, Morgan, is healing can't really happen until the betrayer becomes a healer.
That's right.
Like, they definitely have to stop minimizing the pain, because it shows, like, I don't get it, I'm not safe anymore. But they also have to actively seek to become a healer.
Absolutely.
And so, Morgan, that's kind of how
the
distancer, the unfaithful partner, sees it. For people who've been betrayed, they tend to operate more as a pursuer. And just like you said, this is kind of a generalization. But how they tend to think is, a lot of people look at somebody who's been betrayed and they're like, oh my gosh, you're too emotional about this. You got to just leave and you'll feel better. That kind of thing. Or you won't let it go. But what's really happening is they're fighting for survival. And so what they'll tend to do is they tend to engage in more maximizing behaviors. Like Morgan mentioned, minimizing behaviors, which is telling the story in a way that minimizes what happened. Maximizing happens when someone tells their story, what happened to them, in a way that makes the harm sound bigger. You don't really see that too much in romantic relationships. You see that more. What's interesting about that statement is you tend to see that more in relationships where it's like coworkers, where they're not dating. It's like a friendship, dating, roommates, some other relationship that we're not
like
romantically involved. Yeah. Like, people will blow it up into a bigger thing. But in dating relationships, that's not as much of a phenomenon. But people who have broken trust still apply minimizing behavior to it. So they're going to say things like, so when we maximize or have been really hurt, we're going to say, like, you know what, you've ruined everything. I'm still mad about this. This is unforgivable. You had no excuse. And usually there are more accurate statements like this after betrayal and broken trust. It's like, look, this is a big deal. This is, I could leave right now. Maybe I should leave right now. People have those kinds of thoughts, which are understandable. But the truth is that when people feel this way and have been betrayed, they're often not actually trying to punish the person who hurt them, their spouse. They're trying to make sure that their spouse, the person who hurt them, understands the impact of what they've done. They're trying to stop the pain from being minimized. And that's a big part of what they're trying to do, is like, I want you to recognize the severity of this. I want you to get it. I want you to understand the pain. I'm not trying to punish you. I just want to call attention to this because when you are here and you understand it, that's what allows me to begin to feel safe.
Yeah.
And when that doesn't happen, they talk about it a lot. They bring it up. They don't. It's hard to let it go. They've got trauma symptoms, and as a result, because they're not getting better, they're not feeling safe. They got to keep bringing it up, and then that's where the distancer, the person who was unfaithful, feels like, oh my gosh, we're never going to get over this. You can't let it go. You can't forgive me, and then they tend to dismiss what happened, and that feeds those minimizing behaviors that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So that the person who's betrayed gets louder, and then that cycle just grows. And part of how it grows, almost like if you were to think about it as like a play-by-play, part of how it grows is that the person who's betrayed is going to say, like, I don't feel safe. I need answers. And then the unfaithful partner says things like, well, it wasn't that serious. It wasn't that it was just physical. It wasn't emotional.
Really care about them.
Yeah, I didn't really care.
Right.
That's kind of minimizing behavior. To the person who is injured, they're going to hear that and they're going to start to feel like, okay, that actually is minimizing my feelings. And it feels like you don't get it. Like when you minimize it to minimize conflict and to minimize the pain to somebody who's been betrayed, it sounds like that's another betrayal. You don't get it. You're still minimizing the pain.
Right. And the hurt too. It's often very hard to express how much pain that you're really in.
Yeah.
And so of course, you're going to try to maximize for the language. You need to find the language that really expresses just how painful it truly is and how much hurt you really feel so that maybe somebody else can feel it and join you and somehow alleviate, right, that pain.
Yeah.
Where they say misery loves company. Well, it's not that you want somebody to feel miserable. It's that you just need someone to experience so that you can have somebody who understands you better.
Yeah.
So that the language is important.
Well, being seen, recognized, and acknowledged. Part of what people need is acknowledgement. And that's where this cycle breaks down.
Yeah.
Is I don't sense that you really understand this and truly get it. And because I don't sense that you really truly get it and understand it, I don't feel safe with you because you're minimizing. And then when you kind of minimize it after I bring it up and talk about how important it is to me, I get like a secondary injury. It's no longer the memory of the betrayal or finding out about it. It's this negative cycle interaction of trickle truth, of denial, of lying, of not really being here as a healer. That actually ends up hurting people more than the initial discovery of an affair. And when that happens, the unfaithful partner feels like, oh my gosh, nothing I ever do is enough because you still feel like I don't get it when I'm trying my best to do it. And then when that happens, the betrayed partner begins to pursue because they're feeling abandoned and they're starting to say things like, well, you're not safe, you don't get it. And then the unfaithful partner distances more, they shut down, they lash out. That cycle just repeats. And then as a result, both people end up feeling more helpless and they're in this intense pain. The pain isn't only because of the affair, it's now how the affair is being responded to. And that's what keeps couples stuck.
Absolutely.
And what happens is that minimization ends up creating a second injury. So
it doesn't help.
No.
It just really hurts more. And because the betrayed partner needs one thing to start healing, they need my pain makes sense and it matters.
Yeah, they need it to be seen.
They need
my pain makes sense and that it matters.
Right. And so when the unfaithful partner says it wasn't that bad, the betrayed partner hears, you still don't care, you're not safe, you do it again, and my reality doesn't matter. And that's what we call that secondary injury, like Brad is explaining that secondary pain. So the original wound, that was the affair, but the second wound is that dismissive response afterwards. And
yes. And let me make this comment because sometimes, we do workshops and sometimes, the people who come, there's multiple affairs. So there's obviously the future finding out about more than one affair and those kinds of things obviously hurt a great deal. But what ends up hurting as much as those injuries and those traumas, finding out about infidelity is what Morgan's describing is like, you just don't get it.
Right.
You're still dismissive. And part of dismissive behavior is those statements like Morgan is saying, like, well, it was just physical. It wasn't emotional, or they didn't mean anything to me.
Right.
Or it was out of town. I thought we were done. I thought we were divorcing.
Right.
Those kinds of things are dismissive. But when people are lying, that is also a dismissive injury
Mm.
because it's like, you just aren't giving me what I need.
Mhm.
It's understandable why somebody might lie because it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to hurt you more.
Right.
I don't want to make the situation worse, that kind of thing. But those things create secondary injuries. They create other injuries that
Mhm.
end up hurting people just as much, sometimes even more
Right.
in the original betrayal.
Yeah, that's so important.
And when people get caught in that, they get caught in constant questioning. When somebody's betrayed, they get caught in these like mental loops, like they're in a negative cycle mentally, not just
Mhm. Between their partner.
between them as a couple. They get these obsessive thoughts. They check the phones all the time. They're panicking. They get in anger. They feel disgust. They feel repulsion towards their mate,
Mhm.
and it's really hard to get any sort of healing done because they're bringing a lot of heat to the table, and then the unfaithful partner also is stepping back and not meeting that.
Mhm.
And like we talked about last time or the time before, how trust gets restored is that when the person who broke trust, the unfaithful partner, their efforts at rebuilding trust are greater than the betrayed partner's resistance, fear, and trusting.
Mhm.
So when my efforts to make you trust me are greater than your fear of trusting me, when that's greater than your fear of trusting me, that's when trust will be restored.
Mhm.
I've got to put intense effort in and consistency in. And when minimization happens, it just says to somebody who's betrayed, if you don't get it,
Mhm.
you don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah, that's important. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that behavior matters,
Yeah.
but interpretation matters too, right?
Yeah.
How we're being interpreted.
Yeah. There's you can watch somebody and observe them, but how you think about them,
Yeah.
what you understand them to be doing and why they're doing it, that matters just as much as behavior, what they're doing.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of couples, they think affair recovery is just about changing behavior, right? No contact, transparency, therapy, accountability. And yes, that matters. That matters, but research also shows something else. People don't just remember events, they interpret them. And those interpretations, that also shapes forgiveness. So the betrayed partner interprets the betrayal as, danger,
Mhm.
obviously, and the unfaithful partner interprets the conflict as threat to their self-image, right? I'm a bad person or something like that. And if the interpretation becomes you're evil or I'm hopeless, repair kind of collapses, right? It becomes much harder. But if the interpretation becomes this was, real damage and repair is possible, healing can begin, right? That's where it can start. So the goal isn't to erase what happened. Unfortunately, we can't do that. It happened. But the goal is to build a meaning that supports change and safety. So those are very important
Yeah.
statements.
And the more that people get caught in that cycle that you just described,
Mhm.
they both begin to feel not good enough, which leads to feelings of um, helplessness. And when people feel helpless, like nothing I'm doing is effective in helping us, they start to feel not good enough and they start to give less. So that's
Mhm.
kind of what you were describing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And part of this is like we have two different emotional realities where I see things one way, you see things another. And for people who've been betrayed, part of what they're looking at is, like the story they're saying is like, I want you to notice the damage
Right.
that's here.
Right.
The unfaithful partners, they're trying to highlight, well, look at the reasons I did it.
Mhm.
Both can feel true to them. Like, well, I did it because I
Right.
was hurt first. I did it because, I thought we were divorcing. I did it because I traveled a lot and I was lonely. I did it because,
This relationship was broken.
yeah, they can do it. They have these excuses
Mhm.
and reasons why they're doing it.
Right.
The person who is betrayed is like, I want you to notice what you did. Look at
Mhm.
the damage.
Look at the damage.
And
Yeah.
both they feel true to each partner, they're going to clash. But this is really important, Morgan. Healing begins when both partners can hold those truths at the same time.
Yes.
So when the unfaithful partner can say, oh, I see the damage.
Yeah.
And when they're
Yeah.
minimizing, they don't see the damage.
Mhm.
They're like, okay, they're trying to excuse make, they get into justification, they, get into explanation. And when they can start saying, I see the damage, and act like they see the damage,
Mhm.
and have compassion like they see the damage, that gets the pressure off of the betrayed to try to force them to see the damage.
Right.
That gets them out of the negative cycle. Because when you don't see what you did to me,
Right.
I have to convince you
Yeah.
that you did something really bad to me. I have to control, I have to pressure you, I have to remind you constantly. But when you show me that you get it, by showing me that you see the damage, I can let it go.
Mhm.
Same thing happens when when the unfaithful can do that. Like, I see the damage, that helps the betrayed start to look at the reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of one of the important things about some of this research that we looked into, is that the closer somebody feels to their mate after an offense like an infidelity or some other big injury, the easier it is to forgive them.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of what people will sometimes do who've been unfaithful is they say, forgive me, and then I can do the work. Forgive me, then I'll be a healer. Forgive me, then we'll rebuild.
I'll see hope
I'll see
if
hope.
you can forgive me.
Yeah, but
Right.
big offenses like infidelity are so crushing to somebody, they can't really forgive oftentimes until they see the work.
Right.
And that's kind of what the research shows, is that forgiveness follows feeling cared for, feeling loved, feeling connected and close. So you got to do that work. And that's going to look different after infidelity than it does like a normal relationship situation. Normal relationship situation, you're not addressing some of these other milestones that you might be addressing because there isn't an affair in those situations. Now that an affair's happened, people need the betrayer to become a healer. They need no contact with the affair partner. They need boundaries put in place. They've got questions they need answered. They need to feel chosen.
Mm-hmm.
Those things aren't really necessary in another relationship context that we might have been in. But now that that's happened, those are the things that make me feel cared for.
Yeah, so important. So the damage was real and repair is possible, right? So we have to hold both of those truths at the same time. The truth is that, that there's damage. We need to look at the damage, and there were reasons, sure. But we need to look at both of those so that both people can begin moving forward. We can't rush forgiveness. It's not denial. We don't want that. So it's accountability plus repair.
Yeah, a lot of people will get into denial, like,
right.
You see that a lot with betrayal trauma. People will bury what happened as in an attempt to like stay connected. However, denial doesn't make things better. You have to actually do the work.
Right.
Like that's what I'm so proud about people who come to our workshops and work on things, is they're really inspiring because they're not burying their heads in the sand and just like, okay, we'll go to therapy for 1 or 2 sessions. They're really digging in and trying to get better. And these people who come to our workshops, Morgan, what I love about them is they're so aggressive in tackling this. And sometimes it's just one partner that wants it. And then the other partner who was unfaithful usually is the one who isn't wanting it as much. And then they learn what they need to do and they work on things together and they really experience these great changes.
Yeah. And they see that there is hope. But I think it's super important to really mention again that forgiveness cannot be rushed.
Yeah.
And it's also not a one-time thing, right? Forgiveness is a process that takes time. And people get mad sometimes when they say, well, you can't fix it with just forgiveness, right? Because you can't. It's a process that forgiveness is only a part of, but there's all these other things that you need to do in order to get to forgiveness in the first place before that can even start to enter the equation.
Yeah.
So it's important.
Yeah. Now, if somebody's caused harm, like they've had an affair, their job isn't to win an argument,
right?
Like minimizing it or downplaying it, those kinds of things. What their sole focus should be is, I want to be a healer. I want to heal my marriage. I want to make things right. And that means shifting from minimizing to taking responsibility. Yeah. So instead of saying statements like, it didn't mean anything to me, it was just physical, those kinds of things I've already kind of mentioned, what you want to say is something like, I understand why this is so hurtful. I get why it's so big. I promised I would never do this. You were hurt by somebody else and you thought I was safe. You want to kind of reassure and you really want to communicate that you get it, that you see it the way that they see it. And if you can do that and not act like they're overreacting and not arguing with their pain, but validate the impact, you're going to remove the betrayed partner's need to prove their pain is legitimate. What that means is they're going to calm down because you're not forcing them to prove to you that their pain is legitimate.
Right.
You're going to cut down a lot of the arguing, a lot of the negative cycles, because they feel like, you know what? They are protecting me. They were betraying me before and they were lying and they were deceiving me, but I see by their actions that they're now protecting me. I feel safe with them. Doesn't mean we got to be perfect, but it is about creating safety and helping them feel safe. Because whenever they start to feel safe, they no longer have to try to fight, control, persuade, pursue us, dominate us in interactions, because they're showing us like, hey, you get it. And if we can do that, we're going to get out of this negative cycle much easier.
Yeah, that negative cycle, that takes a blow to that negative cycle.
Yeah.
And then you can start to repair and build a positive cycle.
Absolutely.
Right. And stop asking all the those questions don't become so difficult. We'll say that. But then the next thing is like really that why question, right? So if we that why question becomes so difficult.
Yeah, for a lot of people, Morgan, kind of piggybacking on the why question, part of what happens is people who are betrayed, they ask questions that they need to know, like why did you do it? Everybody asks that, and we know from research that people who were hurt in smaller offenses still get stuck on why. Everybody I've met, anybody who's been betrayed, ask why did you do this? A lot of couples get stuck there, and they get stuck there because they're trying to create safety. If I understand what you're thinking, then I can understand this. They want healing, but sometimes it helps to kind of shift into different types of questions other than why did you do this? Like it can help to ask like, what are you doing right now to make sure it never happens again? What boundaries are you putting into place right now to make sure this never happens again? What will you do when you feel tempted? What are you going to do when you get angry with me next time and you want to go off and have an affair?
Right.
What are you going to do to protect us when you're traveling? How can I check reality without feeling crazy? How can I get reassurance from you without you pushing me away and making me feel like I'm crazy? Those kinds of questions move the relationship from pain into protection. Like, what are you going to do to protect us? And so that's something that people who've been betrayed can do, is they can kind of ask questions like that. Like, what is the plan now to protect us?
Yeah.
And that way it kind of gets us off the focus of the pain in the present to more future oriented.
How are you going to avoid the temptations or deal with temptations when they naturally come? What are we going to do to protect ourselves? Right. And the idea of forgiveness, again, kind of going back to that, it's not forced, it's built. It's built carefully over time with the right tools. And so forgiveness after an affair isn't something that you demand from someone, right? It's not something that you're even owed, really. You can't demand it. It's something that you build. So research shows forgiveness becomes more likely when the relationship can hold a more repair-friendly meaning of what happened. So all of the things that we've talked about so far, not minimizing the betrayal, but making sense of it in a way that supports healing. So forgiveness becomes possible when the betrayed partner can believe that they can take full responsibility. I know that you can take full responsibility. They understand the impact.
Yeah, and people who've been betrayed believe it after seeing it.
Right.
Like, I see that you're taking full responsibility. I see that you're doing that. I see that you are understanding the impact and that you're consistently changing. But if they don't see that, then they can't forgive. And like we've talked about before, Morgan, like forgiveness, trust, and healing are all intertwined. All the steps that create forgiveness create trust and they create healing. And people can't forgive until they feel like they're healing and they feel like they're able to trust.
Yes.
So that's really important what you're bringing up.
Yeah, that's super important. And so you understand the full impact, and then, being able to reassure your spouse that that's something that you can do, that you can understand the impact. Then they're able to really look at the reasons.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of jumping ahead because what you said this before we started recording. You said that when the betrayal, like healing can't happen until the person who's been betrayed begins to believe that the betrayal is not the whole identity of the unfaithful spouse.
Right.
So the betrayal, when there's really not, and I agree with that, like no real healing can happen long term anyway. We can make baby steps, we make some leaps and bounds in some ways, but a part of recovery and healing is when the person who's been betrayed begins to believe, like, this betrayal is not the whole identity of you.
Right.
They're not making excuses, they're not denying, they're not doing that kind of thing.
Yeah. Someone said, what you do is not who you are. I mean, if you do it consistently over time, over and over, you start to wonder, like, is this person, is that the sum of their character? But you can always change that anytime you choose. You can start rebuilding who you are and what you're, what you want to be known for at any time. It's up to you completely. And so, separating the act from the identity, so repair can happen. And it's not about pretending. It's about, being fully honest about, everything in your life, which can be really hard. And usually people need help to do that. So that's why we exist. That's why we're here. We're here for you.
Yeah, we'd love to see you guys come to one of our workshops, join our program. We have a lot of resources that we want to help you. Our program is designed to be comprehensive, structured, and to help you move through this problem fast. Couples therapy may be useful, but oftentimes it lacks that structure. It's not as comprehensive and it doesn't move as fast as we need it to be.
Right.
That's why we're available for you. We'd love to help you in any way we can. If we've been helpful today, please hit subscribe and like, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
And if you've got questions, please feel free to ask. We would love to answer those.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a little bit more on the therapy piece. If you've ever looked for therapy, it's very hard to find someone who knows what they're doing, who can actually help with this situation, actually help you get somewhere. But then it's also hard to get an appointment. And then, you've got these short appointments that are 50 minutes long, and then it's over. Both people don't even have a chance to talk. So if you've ever looked for therapy, you know that that's true. That's where we strive to be very different. We have intensives, we have the workshop where you're not struggling to get in, and you're not having to spread it out over weeks or months. That you're going to, get it taken care of as quickly as possible, not to minimize how much time it takes you to heal. It's not rushing anyone. It's not about that. It's about getting the help you need in a timely fashion. So that's important.
Trust is one of the hardest things to restore for sure. I'm glad you guys are still working on it. It's worth it.
It is. It's absolutely worth it. So your legacy, your future, your children's lives, the people that are around you, your friends, they all, you're part of that tapestry, right? The social tapestry. And it can be easy to forget that we are important in this world, that we are important, and what we do really does matter, and how we handle difficulties and how we handle stress and how we handle problems that come our way really does matter. It matters to everyone, even if it doesn't seem like it. And so that's important to know, that you do actually really matter. You matter to the people who are around you, the people at your work, people if you go to church, any of the social things. People notice you even when you don't feel like they do. And so it's really important that you do matter, and what you do matters. And the fact that you're fighting for your marriage and for your relationship really says a lot, even if it's imperfect. It says a lot about who you are.
We're here. If you got questions, well, we're just waiting.
Just
and
a little bit.
If you have a question you want to put in the chat box, we'll be here and answer it.
And sorry if we sound like we're underwater. Both Brad and I are trying to heal from some kind of head cold, which also made us a little late today, so we apologize. Trying to, not cough and sneeze all the time, especially when we're trying to do a live video. But of course, the kids are also struggling with it too. So our kids.
But thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely.
We'll stay on for another minute. So we're here in Oklahoma.
That's right.
It's 48 degrees. That's the high today. It was 30 degrees this morning. 18 is the low. Let us know where you're from.
Where are you from? We see people from all over the world. Several Canadians. Let's see, South Americans sometimes. A lot of Aussies, Australians we hear from kind of a lot, which is a wonderful thing. But, we're here in Oklahoma. We don't live in teepees like a lot of people think. Oh, okay. It's all right.
Well, we appreciate you guys.
And you can reach out to us at healingbrokentrust.com as well if you have something that you need to say, or if you have a question. You can set up a discovery call. David is a guy on our team. He's a wonderful guy.
This is cool. Listening from Scotland.
Oh,
glad
Scotland.
to have you. Go
Scotland.
Love to go.
We'd love to be there.
I love the movie Braveheart.
Yes.
William
Oh my
Wallace.
gosh. Wow. What an amazing guy.
Robert the Bruce.
So
I don't want to butcher your culture.
Sorry.
I'll just keep it there. Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Oh, good. Thank you.
If you haven't had a chance to do any trauma therapy like EMDR, I would encourage you to do it. It'll help a lot.
It does.
So thank you. But I appreciate you. We will be back probably next Tuesday.
Either Tuesday or Thursday next week.
Yeah.
one of those. If you go to our website and you ask a question or something, we send emails to remind people of the live. So just in case we need to change it to a Thursday or a Tuesday, we'll want to keep you informed and send you resources and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
You can always just cry uncle and say, stop emailing me. I promise I'll stop
Yeah.
emailing you.
We'd
But
love it if you were able to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
yeah.
But thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I
Oh.
want to get better
Yeah.
as well.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. Appreciate you guys.
All right.
See you
See
next
you later.
time. Bye-bye.
Bye.